All right, so it's been a minute since I made a video. Um, I'm finally on break from school, so I had enough time to finally read House of X and Powers of X. I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube. So I watch like the comic book guys, and they've been talking about this X-Men. I'm like, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it when I get time. So I finally had time to read this series of books. I don't even think there was a lot of action. I don't think there wasn't a lot of action. Now that I like recall, this story was like one of the best stories that I've read from a comic book this year. I started today. I started getting comic books today last year. House of X and Powers of X are amazing. They're amazing. I think it's written by Jonathan Hickman, and the reason why I like this story so much is the politics behind it. So without getting into spoilers, I'm talking about like what House of X and Powers of 10. House of X and Powers. Okay, so this is House of X. This is House of X. You see right there, House of X, right? I say Powers of X because what do you see? But for consistency reasons. But it's really Powers of 10. But I'm gonna say Powers of X because I don't feel like we're just gonna call it Powers of X. But anyway, no spoilers. We're gonna talk about this comic book. Now, if you want to get into comic books, or if you want to get into X-Men, because I've got a few X-Men books, but I've never read a lot of X-Men. This is a good it's a perfect starting point actually, because I believe what this is doing is that it's resetting, or what's the word? Not reset. I say this word all the time. Retcon. They're retcon. I don't know if they're retconning, but they are resetting the storyline of X-Men, the continuity. I don't think they're just doing away with the old storylines, but they're just starting over. They're starting fresh. And the way everything is executed, it was like damn near perfect. Like, I don't think if I had to pick a complaint, the art was still great. It's just not my favorite type of art, I guess. Style. But even the art was amazing. It was beautiful. It's in Powers of 10. Powers of 10, I think, has a different artist than House of X. But like I said, Powers of 10 is still good. I said I was going to say Powers of X, and now I'm saying Powers of 10. But yeah, Powers has a different artist than House. And like I said, written by Jonathan Hickman. The credits are in the middle. Well, this is the art. This is what it looks like. This is Powers of X. I mean, it's good. Like, I can't do that. Jonathan Hickman, the writer. R.B. Silva is the artist. And you got R.B. Silva and Adriano Di Benedito is the anchor. Marty Gracia is the color artist. And then, well, I'll just show you guys. Point being, the art. Not a huge fan of it, but like, let me show you. Like, some of these scenes are just like, I want to draw like that. But yeah, the storyline. I really, here's some of the art. I really like the politics behind the plot of what's going on. So to just get into it, the overall plot, without revealing too much, is that Professor X has a goal of creating a nation with an established government, a sovereign nation recognized by the UN, and obviously by extension the rest of the countries of the world. The way he goes about that, I thought was very creative. His use of Jonathan Hickman with his writing, his use of the characters, everybody. There's not a character. Well, I guess Toad. I was gonna say there's not a character who doesn't get a little bit of shine, but like Toad doesn't. But like everybody gets a badass line. Everybody gets their time to show how like really cold they are. And Magneto is one of those dudes. I don't know if he was just always like this because I haven't read a lot of comic books. But Magneto in this is like, I like Magneto. I like Magneto in this. I like Charles Xavier in this. He's still him, but I like his dialogue. He's a very kind, caring guy. But he's not playing no games anymore in this. And that's what I like. I like how the mutants, they're not playing around. Like, they have this goal of establishing this government in this country, and they're going to get their sovereignty. Sabretooth. Don't know a lot about Sabretooth. Sabretooth as a character in this book, he's not in it a whole lot. But damn it, when he's in it, he gotta be like the hardest dude in like the whole book. Not the brightest, but not somebody I would think twice about throwing hands with Sabretooth. Like that dude's crazy. Love him. Would like to see more of him, but yeah, he's not really in it a lot. But I guess the reason that I have such a connection to the story is because it feels like when you read your actual history and not just what's been given by the public school system or whatever the curriculum is, you get a deeper understanding of how events of the past actually turned out more accurately. I mean, you weren't there, so you don't know for sure, but like you get a deeper, more intimate understanding of what happened in the past. And with the mutants and their persecution and Charles Xavier's, I guess you could say, almost pacifist relationship with humans, it reflects American history with obviously Black Americans and also included in that Native Americans, their relationship with the European powers that be in control of the government now and the settlers or colonizers, whatever you want to call them. The story of X-Men, House of X and Powers of 10 directly, it's almost an exact copy of what I read about in the books that I have, only there's a guy shooting lasers out of his head. So it's like that connection, that personal relationship between what I've been reading about in history directly parallels to the story that's going on in here. And that's why I'm digging this story so much, which a lot of people are feeling it. I don't think they're looking at it that deep. I'm looking at it that deep because I just like deep shit, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, there's 6 issues each. Very weird. I don't know why they did this. There's 6 issues each. So that's 12 issues. I started reading 3 days ago. I finally finished last night. And I have X-Men 1 and 2. So yeah, Powers of X, Powers of 10, House of X. They were releasing in tandem. You read them, you read House of X1, then Powers of X1, House of X2, and then for some weird reason it switched. I read all 6 issues. Now they have X-Men, the Marauders, Excalibur, X-Force, and those are releasing like number one, then you read number 2. That's a lot. But this story is so good that I just might get them. I would recommend you get like the omnibus or the collective book of all the issues. I like to collect single issue comic books, but tracking them down, I like the first. I like to get the first prints. I try to get the regular A cover, uniformity. I want all of the first print, first A cover of all the books that I get. And I kind of slept on House of X 1. That's why I have a variant cover. Here's, well, I guess I'll show you guys the cover. Powers of X1. Is this a variant? This is a variant. I chose to get this variant because Storm, she's badass. I love her new design. I think this is House of X 2. I think this is just the regular cover. I really like that one. I really like that. They could have actually kept this style for all of them. Just kind of change the characters around. Powers of X 2. We got Sabretooth in the back with Magneto. Cold. Powers of X 3. Magic and Colossus. And then you have House of X 3. Wait, no. Is it House of X 3? House of X 3, yeah. And then House of X 4 is the next one you're supposed to read. Then we have Powers of X 4. And House of X 5. I hope these covers aren't spoiled. Well, they're not spoilers because there's characters. Oh, Powers of X 5. Okay, so I'm not 100% familiar with all the characters in these books. Mr. Sinister, I knew who he was, but I've never seen him in any media. He wasn't in any cartoon, the movies, nothing. So I knew about him, but he wasn't he didn't have a personality. He was just some character that I never heard of. Well, he's in this book. I don't know why nobody talks about him. This dude is funny. He's hilarious. He's like weird, like creepily funny, but he's fucking funny. I like Mr. Sinister. Here's House of X 6. Last issue of House of X. Beautiful cover with Storm on the front. And here is Powers of X 6 of 6. So by now, there's a big element that I'm leaving out with the story. Because, spoilers, it's not that big a deal. But I just want you, whoever's watching this, if you do read it, I want you to get the full experience of not knowing what's going on and figuring it out. It's definitely worth a read. Pick it up. Get the omnibus or the collected edition, something. And, yeah, enjoy. It's a good book. Guess that's it.